I'd like to welcome everyone to the Certificate in Law Fall Information Session. This will be a very exciting afternoon wherein we'll hear more about the Certificate in Law program as well as the experience of those who took the program. So before we start, let me start by introducing the panel. So we have Hugo Choquette, the Academic Director of Certificate in Law. We also have Amanda Blair, the Program Coordinator of Certificate in Law. And then we have our Certificate in Law graduates who will be telling us about their program experience. We have Mahdi Almusawi, Emily Cumming, and Laura Sims. To give us an overview of the Certificate in Law program, let's watch this quick video.
The Queen's Certificate in Law is Canada's only online program designed to provide everybody with an introductory legal education covering many areas of law. Whether you're interested in pursuing law school, sharpening your professional skills, or just gaining knowledge, the Certificate in Law is right for you. The Queen's Certificate in Law offers 7 courses, including Introduction to Canadian Law, Corporate Law, Aboriginal Law, Workplace Law, Public and Constitutional Law, Intellectual Property, and International Law. Successful completion of 4 courses will grant you a certificate from Queen's University. You can also just take 1 or 2 courses that interest you. To find out more about the Queen's Certificate in Law, visit takelaw.ca.
Now we have the Academic Director of Certificate in Law, Hugo Choquette, who will be talking about the Certificate in Law program as well as a brief overview of Queen's Law.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today. It's a great pleasure to be here. So I'm going to keep my remarks short because I want to make sure we have lots of time for our graduates. But I did want to make a few points about the Certificate in Law program. So as the video mentioned, we are the first undergraduate certificate in law program offered by a law school in Canada. And some of the benefits of that are that, this is a program that is being offered by Queen's Law, which is one of the foremost law schools in the country. And to name just 2 benefits, so you have the benefit of, the expertise of our faculty, obviously, who have been involved in creating these courses. And the benefit of having students who are the TAs in our courses are students who are in the JD program at Queen's Law, so they're studying to become lawyers, so you get the benefit of their experience as well. But also we have a pretty large and growing network of alumni, both in our JD program, but also now in our 2 online programs, the Certificate in Law being one of those, and our other online program, the Graduate Diploma in Immigration and Citizenship Law. So you're part of a large network of alumni by taking the program and as a graduate of the program. So those are some of the benefits of having this program offered by a law school. Next slide, Christina. So the Certificate in Law is really designed to provide you with convenience and flexibility in taking the program. So pretty much only one of our courses is offered in person on campus. All of the other courses are offered online. It's designed for you to complete in the amount of time that is convenient for you. So the course can be done entirely online. You can finish all the requirements in as little time as you want, but you can also take longer if that's better for you. You have to take 4 3-credit courses for a total of 12 credits, and usually, each course, is a single term. So it's possible to do the entire certificate over a few terms. And even the exams and the courses that have exams are entirely online. So there's absolutely no need to physically be present in Kingston at all. As I mentioned already, the courses are taught by Queen's Law faculty. They were designed by Queen's Law faculty who are experts in their field. And they're TA'd by law students, current law students at the law school. And we offer a variety of courses, but each of these is designed to give you a really good foundational understanding of law in a specific field, and obviously Introduction to Canadian Law as general, of law in general. Next slide. So the courses that we offer are really designed to meet a variety of different interests and needs. We offer our introductory course, Introduction to Canadian Law, which is not a prerequisite for any of our courses, so you don't have to take it first, but we do recommend it as an introductory course because it does give you some of those basic notions of law that will help you in all the other courses. We offer Aboriginal Law, which examines the relationship between the Canadian state and Indigenous peoples in Canada. Workplace law, which of course is relevant to pretty much everyone who is going to have paid employment. Corporate law, also very important for a variety of situations. You know, we're all in one way or another affected by business organizations and how they work. Public and constitutional law, again, very important for current events and to understand the events happening around us. Intellectual property, which is of course can be of interest to anyone, but might be of specific interest to you if you're, for example, in the scientific field or in the artistic field. Those are going to be important areas of law to know. And then international law as well, which is obviously has a lot of relevance currently as well. So those are the 7 courses we offer. And as I mentioned, you have to take 4 of these. You can take any 4 in any order, just depending on how you want to do to organize your certificate. Next slide, Christina. Why take a certificate in law? Well, it can be for a variety of reasons. Maybe the most basic one is just to have a greater understanding of law. I mean, law is all around us, and it's pretty much impossible to have a full understanding of what's going on in the world and current events if you don't have some basis in understanding legal knowledge. And so, that's one of the main reasons. It can also be very useful for your professional development. Depending on your career, having a basis of legal knowledge can be very helpful to help you navigate your career path. If you're interested in pursuing further legal education, including possibly law school, it's a great way to know if that's for you and if you would be, really enjoying doing that. And just generally to stand out in a competitive job market. It's an extra credential that shows that you have both an interest and an ability to understand basic legal concepts, which is going to help you whatever your whatever career you're in. Next slide. So who takes the certificate in law? Well, we have some of our graduates in a wide variety of fields, and this is one of the most interesting things to me. And one of the most rewarding things about the certificate is that we really do see a wide range of things that people can do with the certificate. So we've had some of our graduates who work in education, in government and politics, in business, in engineering. I mentioned the intellectual property. Some have gone on to work at law firms, in arts and media companies, all kinds of different career paths that have been helped with taking the certificate and gaining the knowledge that it offers. So, I think it's really, there's really no limit on what the certificate can help you achieve as part of your career path. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will turn it over to Amanda to talk more about admissions to the program, but I'm happy to take questions at the end, of course.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Now we have Amanda Blair, the program coordinator of Certificate in Law, to talk about the admissions process as well as the courses.
Great. Thank you so much, Hugo, and thank you, Christina. So I'm just going to move my screen. So this slide here discusses the program structure and how it's laid out and how students can take the program. So this slide is for those students who are current Queen's students. You would take 2 of your courses at the 200 level. These courses can be used as electives towards your degree, and you would also pay your home faculty tuition fees. There is an option to take the second law course. You can substitute one of the other courses. So Commerce 382 can be done in place of corporate law. EMPR 210 can be done in place of workplace law. And Philosophy of Law 318 can be done in place of any of the 200 level courses. And then after you complete those 2 courses at the 200 level, the next step would then be to complete your 2 courses at the 700 level. So these courses do not count towards your degree requirements, but they are included in your overall GPA at Queen's. I would say, so this program structure is for those distance students and also those for interest students. So interest and distance students, so that would be the online non-degree continuing and online non-degree interest students would take all 4 courses at the 700 level. It's not mandatory to take Introduction to Canadian Law, but it's highly recommended that you start with that course because it introduces you to all the other courses. And just as one quick note, Hugo had mentioned that we do have one course that is can be done on campus. That course, Introduction to Canadian Law, can only be taken by current Queen's students as well. So I just wanted to mention that. And then for interest students, but not just interest students, but also for on-campus current students, you need to, in order to progress in the certificate, you do need to meet academic progression. So as long as you receive a minimum final grade of C+ in your courses, you'll be able to move on and continue. For interest students, you need to complete the first 2 courses before you may be matriculated into the program to complete the 2 remaining courses. If you don't meet the academic progression in one of the courses, you have the option to either re-enroll in that course again to try and get a better mark, or you can re-enroll in one of the other courses offered, because there are 7 courses and you only need the 4 to complete the certificate. So this one is the course offerings for the 2024-25. So you can see that Introduction to Canadian Law is offered every term. And again, for on-campus students as a blended course, also as an online course, and all the other courses are offered. I do recommend if you go to our to the takelaw.ca and to the About page, if you scroll down a bit, there is a course offering schedule that will show these courses in there so that you can better plan which courses you want to take when. We try and offer them at least twice throughout the academic year. But as an example, Aboriginal law is offered in the fall term and the summer term, whereas workplace law is only offered in the winter term. So you just want to make sure, if you have 4 specific courses that you want to take, that you're scheduling those properly when you're enrolling in your courses within SOLAS, the student system. So how much does it cost? That's one of the big questions we always get. So there is a $100 application fee at the time of submitting your application. This can be paid by MasterCard, Visa, or prepaid Visa. Unfortunately, credit debit is not accepted. And if you try and use a credit debit when doing this, it will actually not process. Your application won't process. All of the courses at the 200 level are at your home faculty tuition rate. The 700 level courses, as an example, if you're a domestic student within Ontario, your fee would be $1,134. So if you want to learn more about the other course, say, example, you're outside of Ontario, you're an international student, recommend going to takelaw.ca and go down. There's information on tuition in that. Students also have the option to apply for part-time financial aid. So you can do that as long as you're an online non-degree continuing student. So unfortunately, at this time, interest students are ineligible for financial aid. So if you're an interest student, you wouldn't be able to take your first 2 courses with financial aid. However, once you've been matriculated into the program, you could possibly you could apply and see if you're eligible for financial aid at that time. For admissions, so the criteria is if you are a current Queen's student, as long as you've completed at least 1 year of studies, and your GPA is 2.6 or higher, you would be admitted. That also applies to that online non-degree continuing. As long as you have a GPA of 2.6 from a recognized university, you would be offered admission. And for those students who have gone to a recognized college by undergraduate admissions, and you've completed at least a 2-year diploma or 2 years of a 3-year full-time advanced diploma, and your GPA is 2.9 or higher, then you will be offered admission to the program. So students often ask, is there anything else I need to do with my application? No, it's just you do need to submit your official transcript. And if you have questions on that, if you go to takelaw.ca at the top of the page, there are 2 red boxes, and one of them will show you how to submit your documentation. You can either email it or upload it to the online form that undergraduate admissions has. So as interest students, no supporting documentation is required. However, candidates must be 21 years of age or older at the time of submitting their application. So undergraduate admissions is currently accepting applications for fall 2024. So that's for courses starting September 3rd. And that deadline date is August 1st of this year, 2024. It's coming up in, I guess, about 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda, for talking about the admissions process for certificate in law. Now we have a very exciting part in the session wherein our graduates will be sharing their student experience. So again, I would like to reintroduce the panel for this. We have Mahdi Almusawi. He's a certificate in law graduate, also Bachelor of Arts and Honors in Political Studies and Government from Queen's University. We also have Emily Cumming, another certificate in law graduate, Bachelor of Commerce 24 from Smith School of Business at Queen's University. We also have Laura Sims, another certificate in law graduate, and the Chief Operations Officer at Havergal College. So I will stop sharing my screen and then we'll start with Mahdi and then Emily and then Laura.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mahdi, and it's so good to see all of you here today. Very, very exciting. Don't know where to begin, but if you guys have any questions throughout, this little chat, feel more than happy to write them down and throw it in the Q&A session when we have time. But a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate in political studies from Queen's University. I graduated just this last year, and I graduated from the certificate in law program this last summer. It's an amazing program, in my opinion. A lot of takeaways, but the one thing that I highly suggest is just try Law 201, Intro to Canadian Law. I mean, that right there is your first step in the door. I mean, people take this certificate for a lot of different reasons. I mean, at first, I had my upper year mentor who told me, listen, there's a certificate that's out there. I'm a first generation university student, so I didn't really have all that advice coming into the university to look and leverage different certificates that are offered that can complement your degree. And I heard that there was a certificate of law, and I remember watching Suits in grade 11 and thinking, you know what, like let's learn a little bit about this. And I did, and I took the course. And I mean, Professor Hugo was actually the instructor for that in that year. And it was during the COVID year, actually. So everything was remote. And the best part about Law 201 is that each week is taught by a different instructor from the Faculty of Law. So you don't get one professor who teaches you the entire thing. Each week is basically designed to be taught by a specialized professor from the Faculty of Law at Queen's University. That was my favorite part. So you're getting a professor who literally specializes in their research, their practice area. There's some professors that practice and also teach. So you get a lot of real advice. And I mean, they're definitely very approachable. That's one big takeaway that I took from that. But Law 201 was my favorite. Introduces you to every single field of law in Canada. And even international law. I mean, it's busy at first, but it's very manageable. I mean, I took political studies. That a lot of it was very research driven, but I mean, the work in Law 201 and the certificate in general isn't really too hard. It's just a lot of time. I mean, that transition between high school to university, I mean, everyone says it's a big stress, but in reality, it's just a lot more work. It's a lot more hours, just like many things in life. But I mean, this certificate was, I mean, if you're looking at the cost benefit analysis, in my opinion, I benefited, I mean, endlessly. I mean, just any questions you guys have, more than happy to expand on it. But I mean, my biggest thing was I really enjoyed meeting a lot of different people from across the world. I mean, it's not specific only for Queen's students. I met people from Beijing. I met people from Dubai. I met people from Mumbai. I mean, we would have these simulations, these professional simulations where we'll be negotiating a contract, and I'll be having to like go on my phone, and I'll be like, okay, like what's the time in Beijing right now? And then we'll have to find a time where we can actually meet with our fellow students in the course, and we'll just be like, hey, this time doesn't work for me. No, this time works for me. And then you really start to look at what it's like to be a lawyer. And then I mean, your clients aren't specifically exclusive to wherever you're living. I mean, they're all across the world. So that was my favorite course, was international, apart from Law 201, Intro to Canadian Law. And that was a big takeaway. I mean, Law 201, there's also a simulation, like a little mock trial where you're put into groups and you got to get in there and you're designated defense or and then you gotta learn off the cuff. But very exciting. Looking forward to hear what the other panelists have to say. But if you have any questions, more than happy to expand, and looking forward to your questions. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Mahdi. That was amazing. And like what Mahdi said, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it into the Q&A box, and then we'll get to that after we're done with Emily and Laura. So next we have Emily Cumming.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thank you for all joining. I know it's probably your lunch break, so appreciate you taking the time. But I'm Emily, and as we said before, I just graduated from a Bachelor of Commerce at Queen's just this past June. So I was just back in Kingston for that. And I did my certificate law, finished that at the same time. In terms of work, I work at Deloitte as a consultant. I interned there last summer, and I'll be returning there this year. And I have found that as a consultant, having like a legal background of knowledge has been super helpful in my career. In terms of the actual certificate program, I took, as Maddie said, like definitely take Intro to Canadian Law. It gives you like a little bit of everything. The simulation puts you right in there and you're learning so much. Then I took corporate law as well because I thought that'd be helpful. I took public and constitutional law, and then I took intellectual property law as well. I think looking back as to why I decided to take my certificate in law is after second year, I was super interested in going to law school. I do have a bunch of friends as well who it is kind of a common path sometimes to be in business and then go to law school and work in corporate law. So I did want to test out the waters before, signing up to write the big LSATs and, like applying to law school. So this was a great opportunity and such an easy way to learn a lot in just a few years before applying to law school. And I really also wanted to kind of gain the knowledge in a diverse way with like fellow students. And as Maddie mentioned too, like you're with students who maybe are 60 and are taking this to like freshen up their knowledge. They have a full-time job, or you're with other students from different programs or people from all over the world. So it's a really interesting experience to kind of get in there and learn a lot of diverse experiences and ways to learn law. So that's something as well that really motivated me to take it. I think as well, I knew that taking this program and getting my certificate in law would help me, especially as a consultant, like taking intellectual property. You see now like what I can say to clients, what I can't say to clients, or even like in corporate law, you learn how to read a contract, which is super helpful. Like you'll all find jobs in the future. So having that experience to kind of understand your contract and stuff, and while you're negotiating as well is really important. And I think as well, the last reason I wanted to take is just the skills you acquire. I remember in multiple of the courses I took, you're applying what you learned to like a present day case that might be going on or something you saw in the news. So it's a super interesting way to actually apply what you've learned, which I do think you do miss out on some courses that aren't offered in the certificate in law. So it's a great way to have that experience as well. I think overall as well, my experience was definitely an excellent one. In general, the people here, they're all so supportive. I probably have sent over 100 emails to Amanda, making sure that I'm hitting my requirements and I'm taking the right courses. So you always have someone kind of, behind you, holding your back, ready to help you out. And it is, as Manny mentioned as well, it's such a great way to meet other people and the professors. Like they all have such diverse backgrounds and you're actually learning from people from the law school. So it's such a great way to be right in there and learning as much as you can as possible. And I think any advice going forward, I think the first thing I will say is if you're thinking about applying and you want to do it, start it now. I know there was the slide showing kind of what courses are offered, and not all courses are for all the semesters. So it's important to apply early to make sure you can take the courses that you want. I think second thing I'd say is definitely take what you're interested in. I took things that were applicable to me for my job to help me out. So take what you're interested in and you'll definitely learn a lot. And I think take advantage of what you have. Like there's such a great opportunity to network with the professors and the other students, and you're building these connections. And like it was mentioned, like there's an alumni network, all these things. It's super helpful, especially if you want to find a job later on in kind of the legal world. It's definitely a good opportunity for that. And really just make the most of it. You have all these opportunities to learn so much that I'd never learn in other courses. So definitely take the opportunity to do that. And yeah, as Maddie said, any questions, type them in the chat. Also reach out over LinkedIn if you like have more questions later on. I think everyone here is happy to help out, but yeah, I'll give Laura a chance to chat about her experience.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was amazing. And yes, now we have Laura Sims who will talk about her experience.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Laura, and unlike my fellow panelists, I am not a recent university graduate. I came to the certificate in law as a mature student. My career is 30 years long now. I'm a CPA, so I'm an accountant by trade. And my current role is I help run a business at a senior level. So law is inherent in everything that I do. I've been reading contracts for years, and I'll give you the rundown of the courses that I took, but there's a lot of stuff that you learn and acquired over your career, and there's a lot of things that you should learn by way of formal training. So I did that. The courses that I took was Intro to Law, I took corporate law, which had the contract component in it. So there was lots of great learning in there. Employment law, boy, oh boy, I deal with that all the time. So that was very, very super relevant to the work that I do every day. And then my favorite course was international law. Learning about the UN and its organs, learning about the International Criminal Court, like it was really super cool. And it was an area of interest that I really didn't know about it. It makes you super well read and world events and things like that. So that was really fun. I got to say that doing the certificate in law was really easy for me. I work full time and I kind of work a lot of hours, and I was still able to pull it off. I'm a bit of a lifelong learner. I'm a serial learner, I guess you might call me. So I'm always in a course somewhere, and I was really elated to take all the courses in the certificate in law and then graduate, because it really gave me a few things, some much needed formal training in what I do in my day-to-day world. So I'm much more versed in it and more knowledgeable in those particular areas. And it was also satisfying a personal interest as well. I'm an accountant. I like law. That's kind of my jam. So it was really easy for me to slide into this and get it done. And it was 4 very quick courses. The professors are amazing. Like, just the side conversations, the intellectual conversations, it was just fantastic. The knowledge and the expertise that they shared with the class, and got some really, really cool discussions going about certain things. And then relating them to world events that are happening now, like even locally, like we would talk about current events in CBC News and things like that. So it was irrelevant. It was relevant immediately. And so you were able to apply that knowledge to things that were happening in the world as we speak. So yeah, I'm happy. If there are any mature students in the Zoom today, I'd be happy to talk to you. Drop a message in the chat, DM me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk about this program all day long. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Laura, for sharing your experience. That sounded amazing. And like what the panelists mentioned, we will now be going to the next part of our presentation, which would be the Q&A portion. So the chat box is open for any questions, and we will be relaying it to the person concerned, and they will be answering your questions. So I will start by asking some of these questions. So I think I'll relate this to Hugo. Does family law fall under any of the options for the course offerings?
Yeah, thank you, Christina, and thanks for the question. We don't have a specific course on family law. We do address some family law issues, sort of a little bit in some of the courses. So in Aboriginal law, for example, we discuss Indigenous child welfare issues and some family law issues through the lens of relations with Indigenous peoples. In the public and constitutional law course, you'll look at family law in the context of the division of powers federally and who is in charge of things like divorce and child custody, those kinds of things. And then, to some extent, it's relevant to contract law as well, or corporate law and contract law as it deals with corporate law, in the sense that sometimes, obviously with families that have businesses, it will have an impact on that, and workplace as well, to the extent that it can have an impact on some of the issues in the workplace. So indirectly, some of our courses discuss family law. We don't have as yet we don't have a standalone family law course. But we're always looking at adding courses, and that's something we want to consider for the future.
Thank you, Hugo. I think I will also throw this next question to you. So as you mentioned earlier, another program offered by Queen's Law is the Graduate Diploma in Immigration and Citizenship Law. So there are some participants asking if taking the certificate in law will give them a better chance of admission to the GDUP ICL, or how will it do that? How will taking the certificate in law give them a better chance of entering the graduate diploma in immigration?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there are many requirements for admission into that program, and I would refer you to that program to find out all the specific admission requirements. But one thing I think the certificate can do for you is, particularly if you've been away from an academic setting for a while and you want to see, can you get back into studies and how well you would do? I think the certificate would be a really good first step, because it is 4 courses. It can be done fairly quickly. And it will give you a sense of, how well suited you are to this kind of program. Obviously, the graduate diploma is a little bit more intense than the certificate because it is a graduate program and it's a little bit more, a professional program in that sense. But, it certainly will give you a good idea of how well you would do at taking the kind of program, the online learning, and also the academic level of the program. So it certainly would be a good option to sort of, bring up your grades, and in particular, if you haven't had any Canadian academic experience, it's a really good entry point in terms of showing that you are able to take these courses and do well in them. So I think for those reasons, it is a good first step. But of course, there are all the other admission requirements of the graduate program.
Thank you, Hugo. And for those who are interested to know more about the graduate diploma in immigration and citizenship law, you can check out their website at immigrationdiploma.ca. They will also be holding some webinars, and you could ask your questions with the management of GWICL. So going back, the next question will be for Amanda. If we are in the Arts and Science online program, do we follow the current Queen's course guidelines or do we follow the distance pathway?
I'm muted, sorry. So as a distance student, you would actually complete the same as you would as if you were a current Queen student, in the way that you can take 2 of the courses at the 200 level that can be used as electives if you're currently in a degree program at Queen's. Another thing to note that I forgot to mention earlier is that current Queen students, another option that current students have is that they're able to take 2 courses at the 200 level without admission to the actual certificate in law program. So if you wanted to kind of try it, like we've talked a lot about 201, if you wanted to just, try it and see if you like it first, take a course, take 2, you don't have to commit to the program. And then once you've completed those courses, then you can make the decision if you want to apply. If you do apply and are accepted, then those courses will retroactively count towards your certificate later on.
Thank you, Amanda. The next question will be either for Hugo or Amanda. I work under an Indigenous government organization and have been tasked reaching out to post-secondary institutions. Would there be group options to register for the program? Our legislative department and council may be interested in a law certificate.
Yeah, thank you. I think I would say the best thing for that is to email us. Currently there is no, that I'm aware of, there's no group option, but that's certainly something we could look at doing if there was an interest in that. So that's certainly something we'd be interested in exploring with you. So if you want to email, that's probably the easiest thing, and then we can follow up from there. And the general email is there on screen, I think. Yep.
Yeah, we definitely would have to check because through all the applications do go through undergraduate admission, so it is done on an individual basis. So I don't believe at this time, like Hugo said, that like there are no options for groups, but it's definitely something that we can explore.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for this fall, but it might be something we could look into for future. Yeah,
absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for that. The next question, I think I'll address it again to Hugo or Amanda. I'm looking at a second career and have been off long-term sick leave. I eventually want to do the immigration course, but would like to begin with a certificate in law first. What pathway should I take?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you haven't done so, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, and you can certainly apply directly to the immigration program. I think what I would say about taking the certificate is it will give you a sense of how well you do in an academic context before you take on the significant investment of doing the immigration program. So because the certificate is a shorter program, it will give you a better sense of that. And so I think that would be the one advantage I could see to taking the certificate program first. keeping in mind they're different, they're different programs as but it might be useful to take the certificate first.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hugo. The next question is for our graduates. So I'll start with Laura. So for Laura, how did you find balancing a full-time job with the group work that Mahdi was mentioning? And I'd also like to get input from Mahdi and Emily if they have it after Laura shares her experience.
So I would say, I work during the day, obviously, and then a lot of my studying was at night. There's a lot of reading in these courses, which is fine, and most courses would have that. I did spend my nights and weekends, not all 7 of them, but many of them, working on this. I'm very dedicated. I'm very, very interested in this program, so I had no problem doing it. I also have a whole bunch of kids and dogs and things going on at my house, and I still was able to do it. So it's a very doable course. The 4 quick courses, and you'll just need to find the time to make sure that you put enough time into it. But it's totally doable.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura. Just for Mahdi and Emily, can you just quickly talk about the group work and how much time you have to devote for that?
Absolutely. I mean, very, very good question. My favorite part about the certificate was that it was incredibly manageable. All the quizzes are done, so that they're due Sunday. I believe it's 11:59 if it hasn't changed. And you have a week. I mean, the lectures are all posted at the same time. The materials all posted at the same time. You can go through the syllabus. You know what's expected of you. You know when the assignments are due. Months ahead of time. You know when the final exam is going to be. I saw there was a question in the chat about simulations, and I mean the lectures are basically posted. They're not live. You don't have to attend, so that you can review them, you can fast forward them, you can have a transcript. It's incredibly accessible. I mean, I very much enjoyed it. I mean, I was taking a 5 courses, a full-time student, and I also have a small business on the side. So managing them both was incredible. I mean, it really comes down to time. I mean, and the biggest thing that I really enjoyed was being able to reach out to professors and letting them know that, hey, I have so and so commitments, I have academic commitments, I have professional commitments, and they're incredibly flexible. I know Emily mentioned this a little earlier about you can be in touch with your professor and you can discuss about even the news, a case that's on the news, getting their thoughts. I mean, Professor Morgan Davis was also an incredible professor. I believe he taught intellectual property, and Professor Terry Hancock. I mean, we'd go back and forth talking about constitutional law, and I'd be like, hey, I have a question about this. What are your thoughts on this? And then, I mean, being in the certificate gives you access to professors to basically ask legal questions. And I know that there's another question in the chat about I mean, how applicable it is for work and finding work. I know that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily take the JD route. So I'm actually going to law school this fall, and I know there's a lot of people that actually go abroad to do law school. And you can get a bachelor's in law in the UK or Australia. And when you come back, you have to basically complete a national committee accreditation exam. But there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of clients out there who go to lawyers and ask them, hey, like, where did you do your education? And they can say, hey, I did my bachelor's of law at London School of Economics, but I did my certificate in law at Queen's Law. So even though I have a bachelor's of law in the UK, I still came here and specialized in whatever courses that they decided to specialize in. And I mean, I've seen a lot of cases where people who don't even necessarily graduate from Canadian law schools go and get the certificate and say that, hey, I've studied abroad, I have my bachelor's of law, I did my NCA exam, and I also have a law certificate. And I also completed the business certificate at the business school here. So that was incredible. Like, a lot of it, I mean, is applicable. And I know Emily was talking about contracts. That was a great experience. One of the experiences you have to basically go on a Microsoft Word document. You have a contract and you have another student and you're back and forth negotiating, and you don't submit it until you guys are both in an agreement that, okay, like, we'll agree to disagree, but you're making your comments on the side saying where you disagree and where you agree. And that was like a real life negotiation simulation that I really much enjoyed. you really learn how to like negotiate with somebody who's just as competitive as you. They don't want to, obviously fall back on, their best alternative to like a negotiated agreement, but at the same time, like you're looking for your interest, they're looking for their interest. So, a lot of it is incredibly applicable. If you're interested in the research aspect, that's also an incredibly different conversation I'm happy to have. Feel free to message me, but research and just practical experience and lessons that you can learn from the certificate is endless. There's a lot of great questions in the chat, but I'm gonna just hand it off to Emily here.
Yeah, thanks. I think both like Laura and Maddie said it well. Last summer, I was working a full-time internship. Days were 12 hours, and I was taking 3 courses, 2 of which were from the certificate in law program, and I was fine. I think because there are other mature students and other students from different time zones, everyone's so willing to meet maybe at night or on the weekend. Like people aren't expecting you to have your work done in the work hours. I think the only thing is you just have to be willing to put in the work, maybe like after a long day of being at the office. So as long as you're willing to do the work, you have a lot of time to, and again, the resources are there, everything's asynchronous, so you'll definitely have the time to do it.
Thank you so much, Emily, Mahdi, and Laura. That's very, very helpful. The next question, I'll just make it more concise. Is the certificate in law considered as a post-secondary degree program? So that's for Hugo or Amanda.
Sorry, yeah, the certificate in law is it's a post-secondary, it's a certificate program. So where you complete the 4 courses or 12 units. So it's a lot different from the graduate diploma in immigration and citizenship law. So I'm just kind of reading the question here because I have it up. If you want to learn more about, I know there was some you have some questions about their admissions, I definitely recommend reaching out to them to get more information on their admissions process.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda. Just to clarify, the certificate in law is a certificate program, which means it's not a bachelor program. So the immigration program has different requirements. Again, as I've mentioned, you can join one of their information sessions to know more. So please visit their website at immigrationdiploma.ca and join one of the sessions. The next question is for Amanda. When are the synchronized sessions scheduled? For example, lectures. So that's for Hugo or Amanda, actually.
So I can take this one, Hugo. So yeah, lectures are pre-recorded. I think Mahdi mentioned that you can kind of watch them at any point, day, evening, weekends. There are some synchronized sessions, online tutorials, as an example, in Introduction to Canadian Law. They're called applied learning sessions. They take place about all courses. So as an example, Introduction to Canadian Law, Aboriginal Law, and International Law all have these synchronized sessions. And so they run anywhere between 4 to 5 times throughout the 12-week term. So you're looking at probably almost every second week kind of thing that you're going to be doing these times. We have time scheduled in the day, evening, weekend. So you choose the time when you're enrolling in your class in Solus. And we try and ensure that we can get you in this preferred time, especially due to work schedules and that.
Thank you, Amanda. So the next question, I think Laura already answered that, as well as Emily. Can I work with this certificate? So, or I'm not sure if the question is it something you can use for work? So any one of the panelists can actually answer this question.
I'll chime in. Totally can do it while you're working. And I'm not sure if I understood the second part of the question. Was it?
Yeah, the question was, can I work with the certificate? So yes, you can work, but maybe another follow-up is how can it help you with your work?
Well, I'll tell you from firsthand experience, it helps me immensely because it adds to the formal foundation that I need to do certain aspects of my job. I deal with lawyers all the time outside of our organization, but it really does help to know a little bit about it so that you can have those conversations with lawyers. So that's where I find it immensely beneficial.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura.
Yeah,
The next, oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Mahdi.
Sorry, pardon me. Just to chime in on that, actually, pardon my interruption. that was a great point that Laura mentioned, was that dealing with lawyers. I mean, for a lot of people that go in for consultations, they know how expensive they can be. They can be ranging from $350 to $850 an hour. So just having that prepared when you go in to see a lawyer saves you a lot of money and a lot of time, and you're going to get what you want from the lawyer. I mean, oftentimes they'll be like, I don't know, let me get back to you, but at least you'll have, like, you know, like your notes in front of you being like, hey, I learned so and so. You don't have to let them know that you learned it, but one thing that I really, really want to just mention for the chat here is I do have a small business and I took corporate law, and it was by far one of the most beneficial courses. I mean, I have my notes here in front of me. I can just read very quickly. I learned how to run a corporation, you know, the roles of directors and their officers. I mean, the nature of, you know, a business enterprise, debt financing, names, trademarks, copyrights. What are they? How do you apply them? I mean, what does it mean to have one? I mean, you also look at business law and torts, business ownership agreements. That was a big one. I mean, for people that want to buy a business or sell their business, they know how to draw a contract. And basically, there's fundamentals. I mean, you have an offer, you have consideration, and then you have acceptance, right? So those three things for me, as someone who, you know, is interested in business, interested in law, I didn't know any of that. And then I came out of the course knowing that for every contract, you know, you have to have those three things. And if you can prove those three things, then you can prove that you have a contract. And I didn't really know that at first. But I mean, there's obviously a lot more to this. But I mean, my favorite part, my biggest piece of advice for even the people that are taking the undergrad route or interest students is message their instructors or the professors and be like, hey, I'm very interested in this course. I read your biography. Could I just get a copy of like the syllabus and the, you know, what was really covered in this course? And a lot of professors are very, very happy to just send you and be like, hey, I covered so and so in this course. And that way you can know that, I mean, as Emily said, taking the courses that you're really interested in. But great question.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mahdi and Laura. The next question is for Amanda. Is it fully online?
So yes, the program is done entirely online, including the final assessments, with the exception of the Introduction to Canadian Law on Campus course. But again, that is only for students taking that at the 200 level. So you have to be a current degree seeking student for that. And I just wanted to go back quickly to what Maddie just said about the syllabus and that. Yes, at any time, if students do want a syllabus or any syllabus, they can also reach out to myself and I can definitely provide one of the most recent ones. Another option is to also go to takelaw.ca to our courses page, and each course is listed. And when you go down, it shows the assessment weighting, course description, course learning outcomes, and all of that information on there if you want to better learn about the courses as well.
Thank you so much, Amanda. The next question is still also for you. I'm interested in taking Canadian law as one of my options. I would like to take it online, but I live in the Quebec side. How will that affect me as far as payment, and where can I get the books to be able to study?
So as a student, a domestic student, but outside of Ontario,
Yes.
you would be expected to pay. So as an example, I just quickly brought it up. So if you're a student within Ontario, in the presentation, it said the cost for one course was $1,134. However, if you're a student, say as an example, in Quebec, Alberta, BC, wherever it may be, then your total would be $1,249. So just a little bit higher. All of those fees are pre-done through the registrar's office, through the Ministry of Education. So we don't have much of a say on those, but yes, they're all listed on our website if you have more questions on that. Also, if you go to the registrar's website, all of the prices are listed on there for the tuition costs, as well as how to pay, methods of payment, and all of that information as well. In terms of books, students can purchase the books ahead of time. I've included those all on the takelaw.ca website under the course pages. It's all in the syllabus when you get in, but if beforehand you'd like to purchase, you can go onto our website. There's links to the publisher website, the campus bookstore. We've also included course reserves if you wanted to purchase the textbook by rental as an e-text through the Queen's Campus Bookstore. All of the books range anywhere from probably about $70 to $150. It just depends if you want to rent it, get hard copy, e-text, whatever it is. So it just depends on what your preference is when you're doing your text. Some people are visual learners and they really like having that physical book in front of them, or some people like having the e-text in front of them. So
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda. The next question is still for you. If I were a student to pursue a JD at Queen's or other Canadian universities, would any of the certificate courses be transferable towards a JD?
So unfortunately not. So the certificate in law is done at an undergraduate level, whereas the JD program is a professional degree program. So it's done at a graduate level. So unfortunately, none of these courses would be transferable to your JD requirements.
Thanks, Amanda. For individual eligibility questions, we would encourage you to email Amanda at lawcertificate@queensu.ca, and then we'll get back to you with the answer. The next question, it's more of a comment/question. I have a specific query. I can correlate myself as a mature student with international experience in engineering, finance, business, and also a new Canadian citizen. Laura, you really summarized most of my queries. However, the question of having knowledge of law is always good to safeguard ourselves. Do you ever find it intimidating while dealing with ill-informed issues at work or business or family/community?
No, I think that the certificate in law, if anything, gave me the confidence to talk about it more thoughtfully and with knowledge, right? I think that and I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but I think that what the program does is reinforces things that you already maybe half knew, but just wanted to validate it, and then also take it a step further to formalize that knowledge and give you that confidence to have meaningful conversations with lawyers or even other senior leaders, colleagues in your industry. Like it just gives you that value add and that boost to that next level of knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura.
Just to chime in there.
Yes, Mahdi. Yeah,
pardon
go
my
ahead.
interruption. Two things actually. I mean, the last question was a great question about, if the credits are transferable. I mean, as someone who took political studies, I know Amanda mentioned this in the intro earlier, but it might have slipped your minds, is that the courses and the credits they can be actually accredited to your home faculty or your program. So in politics, as a substitute course, you can take, like, for example, Law 201, or you can actually reach out to your undergraduate chair and say, hey, Professor so-and-so, I think that this course is actually relevant to this degree. And if you can actually convince your undergraduate chair, they can make that credit eligible for your degree. So if you're someone that's in, for example, like global development or political studies or even economics, and you're interested in taking law, you can have those credits, included in your degree, and it can really help increase your grades and your GPA. I mean, I know that was the case for myself, and I found that very, very great. And just on this last question, I lost my train of thought, but I will hand it off though. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahdi and Laura. So the next question is for Amanda or Hugo. Can you outline the process for the on-campus course, which I guess is Introduction to Canadian Law? Is it offered on weekends, accommodation at the residence?
Yeah. So just to quickly go back to what Mahdi said there too. Yeah. So yes, as a current student, you are able to take the two courses at the 200 level. However, you can substitute one course. You cannot substitute it for a 700 level course. You can substitute it for a 200 level course. And again, those courses, just to, if you joined us late, Commerce 382 can be taken in place of corporate law. EMPR 210 can be taken in place of Law 203. And Philosophy of Law 318 can be taken in place of any one of the 200 level law courses. And that's all 7 up. In terms of this question that Brian had, so the Introduction to Canadian Law is offered on campus. It's offered on Thursday evenings. However, distance students don't have the option to enrolling in this course, so it can't be done on the weekend, or there's no accommodations at a residence. So as long as they're a current student on campus, you can take the course. And like I said, it's always offered Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So for the next question, I think the panelists have been able to share how they were able to balance working while studying. But the next question is related to that, and I will again This is for Laura, Emily, or Mahdi. Is it possible to study while balancing work life? I mean, the lectures are recorded or live. If someone is doing afternoon work, will it be easy for us to manage the course? Just share your experience, please.
Yeah, so I find that every professor runs their class a little bit differently. But in general, I found that most of my classes didn't have a mandatory online class, so to speak, like a synchronous learning session. So one did, and all of those were scheduled between 5 and 8 p.m. And so if you couldn't make it, it's recorded. And then a lot of the pre-read learning for the unit that you're working on is all in videos and in readings. So it's self-work. So if you work afternoons, maybe you have some time in the morning, maybe you have some time in, later. Like it's pretty easy to customize your workload according to whatever it is you do in your life. So I would say that's very easy to do.
Perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think also if they do any synchronous parts where you do have to join sessions, they do also give multiple times. And if there's like TA sessions too, so you do have the opportunity like, oh, I can't do it during the day. There's one at 8 p.m. or maybe there's one at 10 a.m. So there's always options and they're very accommodating for that as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just
Yes, go
I
ahead.
part of my interruption. Just a second, both of that actually. I mean, the one thing I found, another favorite thing of mine, and I have a lot of favorite things, was that I mean, the way the course is actually delivered is on OnCue, and OnCue is basically it's a standardized system. You see it even across the GTA for even high school learning websites, and basically they utilize the calendars, the surveys, feedback, everything, and this happens on a weekly basis. So even throughout the term that you're taking the course, it's like constantly changing, and they're very proactive with the feedback, and it's not like a reactive approach where they wait to the end of the semester and then they get the feedback and then they wait for the next semester. It's like as you're taking it, they're making changes. And another thing with I mean, how does it really help? I mean, and how do you really balance the work? To be very, very honest with you, I mean, I found a lot of what I learned in the law courses were incredibly applicable to I mean, my home faculty, my home program courses. I mean, I took a course in politics called Canada and the United Nations, and I mean, I took international law, and just to mention, I mean, the convention on the rights of like the child, I mean, the Geneva Conventions, I mean, the UN Charter of the Rights, and I mean, a lot of these different conventions and codes that Canada and a lot of different countries are signatories of. You can even mention in your work and in your research. For I know there's some students that are probably just looking to take this because I mean they want to improve their professional literacy, but in the same time, if you're a student that's looking to take the master's or the PhD route, this is definitely a huge opportunity, and I cannot speak enough about it. I mean, when I first took my politics classes, I took this and I actually put it in my thesis, and it helped me actually get an admission for a master's opportunity. And and it came straight from the international law course that I took, and I just put it in my essay, and I said, I mean, drawing on legislation, and this is what Canada interprets. And then I know there's another question about Quebec. I know they have a civil code, and then we have the common law system here. They make that very, very clear in Law 201 that there's different codes, different ways of law, and it's like they don't assume that you know the law or that you're like you're a professional in the law. When you go there, they build the foundations and your pillars, and you really come out with the strong literacy in Canadian law and international at large. So great question.
Thank you so much for answering the question to our panelists. And unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we'll answer 2 more questions. But for the rest that we can't answer, we encourage you to please email lawcertificate@queensu.ca, and then we will get back to you with your answers. So the next question, do I need to finish my bachelor's degree in law and society at York University in order to be accepted into the certificate of law? I guess this is for Amanda.
So no, you don't need to. In actuality, you could probably reach out to your faculty to see if they would accept transfer credits and see if any of these courses within the certificate in law program could be used in place of your degree requirements needed for your law and society.
Perfect. And the last question that we'll take for this afternoon, are there any costs beyond the tuition?
So other than the tuition, there's the cost that we talked about, the textbooks that kind of range anywhere from $70 to $150. And then other than that, there is a small student assistance levy, SAL fee, that gets placed on a student account. And I think it's about $10 every term. As soon as you enroll in a course, that gets added on top of that. But other than that, no, there generally are no costs related other than your computer and everything that you have to do your online course.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you again to our panelists for answering all the questions that we received today. So just before we end the session, if you want to learn more about the certificate in law, or if you have any other inquiries, please visit the following resources. So our website is takelaw.ca. You can also follow us at Instagram at Queen's U Certificate in Law. We post testimonials, program experience, updates about the program, and a lot of great information about certificate in law. We also have a Facebook official page at Queen's Law Certificate. If you would like to join our mailing list and get updates and newsletters about the program, please sign up on our website at takelaw.ca/contact. And again, as I've mentioned, for any other questions, any other inquiries about the certificate in law, please email lawcertificate@queensu.ca. So thank you so much, everyone. That brings us to 1 p.m. this afternoon. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.